Hello engineers, this is Mr. Hernandez, and here I'm presenting a lesson that was created by Mr. Miyamoto, who was another engineer at LMS last year, and this was recorded last semester when we had just started distance learning. So there's going to be a few small changes between what he presents here and what you guys are going to do. So there's not going to be a notebook check for this, and the quiz that he's talking about in these notes is actually attached to this assignment. Now, other than that, all the other information in here should be pretty accurate. And also, when he mentions your engineering notebook, what he's really talking about is your science notebook. So for this assignment, you're going to be taking all of these notes in your science notebook. And the quiz is actually open note, so make sure you take good notes here. All right, enjoy the lesson.
Hello everyone, this is Mr. Miyamoto. I hope everyone is doing well and being safe. I have here a lesson for you in 3D printing. This is actually some notes that I would usually have shown throughout the year, but due to our current crisis, I've decided that this is actually a pretty good lesson to actually have online, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Again, our notes today are on 3D printing. Basically, guys, today I'm going to give you a really short interview, and actually I'm going to show you how 3D printing works on a more detailed level here. Alright, so you're going to need your engineering notebooks, so please make sure you have that out in front of you. I'm also going to give you guys times to pause this video, and I'll let you know. And so what I'll do is I'll go through a slide. I'll read the text to you. I will tell you any examples if needed. Might explain some of the pictures there. And right at the end, I'll let you know that if you would like to pause the video so you can continue to copy those notes down, you may do so. Alright? And guys, lastly here, at least for this section, not only are you going to need a pencil, but you're also going to need a colored pen and pencil. There's going to be a drawing exercise later on in these notes, and you're going to need both to be able to do that exercise. And guys, lastly, I will post a quiz later about these notes, so you may actually use your notes in your notebook to take that quiz. So please make sure that your notes here look good and that you understand them and they're written nicely, so that when you go back, you understand what you were writing about from here. Alright, okay guys, so go ahead and pause the video if you need to grab your engineering notebook. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and get started here. I also apologize for not being able to go full screen. Usually when I click present here, I'm able to make the notes full screen here, but for whatever reason, my video stops recording when I do that, so please bear with me here. Alright guys, so this is going to be 3D printing, so go ahead and write 3D printing in the top middle of your notebook, and depending on your date for today, please write that in the top left corner. In the top left corner. So again, 3D printing in the top middle of your page, and the date in the top left corner. If you need to pause the video to catch up, you may do so now. Alright guys, so moving on here. First off, so what is 3D printing? And guys, you should be writing this here in your notebooks. What is 3D printing? And please also write the following. 3D printing is the process of making a three-dimensional object from a digital file, such as a CAD model. So guys, a CAD model being a model from Tinkercad, being a model from Autodesk Inventor, if you're able to make these 3D models on the computer, you're able to actually send it very easily to a 3D printer and actually have that thing in your hand in a couple hours. It's a very new process, and it's very, very powerful. And right here is a picture of a part being 3D printed. I'm going to show you in a second on how that actually works. But for right now, guys, please make sure that you have what is 3D printing in your notebook and that you have this description here. If you need some time to pause to write this down, you may pause the video now. Alright guys, so going to the next one, go ahead and skip a line. So how does it work? Well, starting from the bottom being the surface where you are going to be doing your 3D print here. This is called the printing bed. So starting from the bottom, 3D printers make parts by extruding melted plastic layer by layer until the part's complete. And so here's a fast version of it right here, this GIF here. You guys see that it starts at the feet, and it's going to go left and right, until your part's completely done at the top. If you guys want to see a slower example, and actually the hand right here is a more realistic speed at which 3D printers work. As you guys can see, it's doing everything, but everything's the same height here because it's doing everything layer by layer. Okay, so again, Please make sure you have how does it work in your notebook, and you have the description here also in your notebook. And if you need time to continue to finish this text, you may pause the video now. Alrighty, next. Alright guys, so let's go ahead, and I actually want to have you practice drawing what it would look like if we had these parts printed in our 3D printers. So this is what the part should look like when we're done. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be drawing the extruded plastic as it moves along and as it prints our parts. So go ahead and draw this cube out in your engineering notebook. Please also use these dashed lines. This is going to be like your skeleton here, and you're going to be filling this in as we draw. And once you go ahead and finish this cube, go ahead and finish this cylinder here. And same thing, guys, please use dashed lines here. If you need time to complete your drawing here, go ahead and pause the video now. Alright guys, so I'm going to do the first one with you. What I'd like you guys to do is go ahead and look at this cube. And if you guys think about our definition before, 3D printing works by starting at the bottom. So if you were to imagine an extruder full of plastic, and it is melting the plastic and laying it down, the first thing it would do is it would start a layer at the bottom here. And once that plastic has a little bit of time to cool, it's going to go ahead and put the next layer on top, and the next layer on top, and the next layer on top. So with your colored pencil, I would like you guys to do the following. Go ahead and draw the lines like this, starting from the bottom and working your way up, and working your way up, and working your way up, until you get to the very top of the cube here. You guys should have a drawing very similar to this. So go ahead and pause the video here and go ahead and add these build lines. Okay guys, so since we did this first one together, I'd like you guys to try this next one here. I'd like you guys to go ahead and draw the build lines for the cylinder. Don't forget that you must start at the bottom, and you're going to keep adding these layers until you get to the top. So go ahead and try this one on by yourself. I recommend trying this in pencil first, just in case you make an error here. I'll show you the answer to this example after you unpause the video here. So go ahead and pause now. Go ahead and try your solution. Okay, so your solution should look like this. Again, guys, you should have started at the bottom. It should be very similar to this line here, except it's going to be circular, right? Because it's also going to be having the section from the back. So it should look like this. If yours doesn't have that back circle here, that's fine. So if you have like a bunch of lines here that look like happy face lines, that's fine. But it should look something very, very similar to this. And as you guys can see, like this would have been like my first layer, and I have my second layer here, and my third layer here, and you're going to keep going up and up and up and up and up until you get to the top, guys. So next, or you know what, pause the video here if you need to change your answer in your notebook, and go ahead and pause the video now. Okay, so moving on here. Next, we're going to talk about supports. So guys, what are supports? Please add this into your notebooks also. What are supports? And then go ahead and add this description, which is shapes added to a part that aid in the building of overhangs and other shapes. So that's what supports are here. And they're purposely printed weak so that they can be easily removed after you finish the print. So guys, down here is actually a great example of a part. If you were to look at the right side here, this is how it was 3D modeled, and actually this is how it looks after you remove the support. But if you guys tried to 3D print this, you would have a lot of difficulty, especially in like this little area, because if you guys can imagine, as you're working your way up with your extruder, if you have overhangs like this, if there's nothing to support the melted plastic underneath it, it would droop here, right, as it was going down. So to keep it from drooping and to keep it in the proper structure that you want it to, we can actually add in purposely printed weak material, which we call support, just to help you build the rest of the part. Okay guys, so again, in this part, everything that's white is considered support material, and then you could break it away later, so it looks like this. Also, really cool side note here, depending on how expensive your 3D printer is, some 3D printers, you can actually extrude in different colors like this, and sometimes these support materials are water soluble, which means if you dip it in water, these actually just kind of melt away. And so you don't actually need support material like that. Sometimes you can just come in with pliers and break these off, but the water soluble ones are very handy sometimes and actually very neat. If you need more time to complete this slide, again, you need to write the title here and you need to write the description here. You may pause the video now. Alright, so moving on. Alright guys, let's go ahead and let's practice drawing these again. I notice these aren't dashed lines, but I'd still like you guys to treat these very similar. Go ahead and trace this plus sign in your engineering notebook and go ahead and trace this box here. And notice that there's an empty section in here. And we're going to pretend that we're 3D printing these and that we're looking at these from this side view. Okay, so go ahead and just copy these shapes over into your engineering notebooks right now. Don't worry about adding any build lines yet. We're going to do that together in the next step. So go ahead and pause the video now. Okay guys, so the first thing I'd like you to do is actually let's work on the plus sign together, and I'll give you guys time to practice this one by yourself. Okay, so imagine we're 3D printing this plus sign, and we're looking at this from this side view. So if you guys were to imagine build lines here, and we're going up and up and up and up and up, the second we get to this overhang, if we had melted plastic here, it would droop. So it should probably look something like this, and this is what I was talking about here. If you wanted to add an extra build line here, you would actually need some support posts here, right, to keep this from drooping. Because if these weren't here, let's say I started here, and the purple, these purple supports weren't here, it would just fall down. Because don't forget, we're working with melted plastic here, so it's very malleable, very loose, right? Alright guys, and so basically, to make this line, I would have to add these purple lines. So just from right here, guys, go ahead and add this to your engineering notebook. Please make sure you have the build lines here in one color, and you have the support lines here in another color. You may pause the video now to catch up. Okay, so guys, once you have this section written down here, if you guys were to look at the rest of this part, it doesn't seem like we would need any other build lines. This part here doesn't need any extra support because there's already some foundation underneath it to build it. So if I were to build the rest, if I were to complete what all the build lines would look like, something like this, right? So guys, go ahead and pause the video now to make sure that your build lines are completed here. Alright guys, so the next one, I'll go ahead and let you try this out by yourself. This one's a little bit more difficult, but I think with some thinking here, you guys should be able to figure this one out. I recommend doing the same thing as we did on this one. So we started adding build lines, and I want you guys to figure out where on this part you're going to need supports. Hint, it's not on the left side and the right side here, because these already have a foundation to build off. But there's another section on this cube that would require support material if I were to print it this way. So go ahead and add your build lines and go ahead and add your support lines, and you may pause the video now to complete your part. Okay guys, so here's the solution to this one. If you guys were to start adding build lines, you guys would probably start here at the bottom, and as you're moving up and up and up, you'd be like, okay, well, I don't need support material here, I can just keep building up. And same thing for this side, but the part of this that needs support material is definitely the top. And so the place we would add support material to make sure this is supported and it wouldn't fall down or droop is we need to add support material in the middle here. So your part probably should have looked very similar to the following, right? So before we can even add more build lines up here, you would have to have started down here, and as you guys start building up here, you'd also be building support at the same time. So you're building this left wall and the right wall and these middle support columns at the same time as you're 3D printing. You're moving up and up and up and up and up. And as soon as you get to here, now you can finish that line because you've added these orange support sections, right? So by the time you finish, see guys, you can add one more support here, or I'm sorry, one more build line here, and then you can complete it going to the top, like so. You may pause the video now to make sure that your box looks similar to this. Alright guys, so next topic here. So do you always need support? And so guys, we just practiced working with the plus sign here and working with the box, but maybe if I had changed the orientation or changed the way it's positioned in the 3D printer, I wouldn't have actually needed to use supports. So this is actually, guys, this is an image from what we call FlashForge, It's a program in which you set up your 3D prints. These are just screenshots of what I just did. I actually made these parts in Autodesk Inventor, put it straight into FlashForge, and if we were in class right now, I will let you guys do that. But here are your images right now. So guys, this was what we just practiced, but what if instead of printing it this way, I printed it laying down like this? And if I printed it laying down like this, and I 3D printed it, I wouldn't have any problems here in terms of I would need supports, right? No supports are needed for this part, but I would require supports here. So overall, I would recommend this solution. I recommend this solution over this solution, because why waste the plastic to add support material if you don't need to, right? 3D printing does require the plastic, and you do have to buy those rolls. So don't waste plastic if you don't have to. Same thing with the box here, guys. We printed it this way, and again, we needed the support material to build the top here. But had I just turned it this way, I wouldn't have required support. So guys, do I always need support? Go ahead and write this down in an engineering notebook. You don't need support material on every part. And sometimes you can avoid using support if you select a good orientation of the part. If you need time to catch up, or if you would like to draw these images here just so you can remember this, in fact, please do so. You may pause the video now. Alright guys, and I believe I have one more slide for you here. Let's talk about these 5 steps. You're going to need 5 steps to actually create your 3D print. I'd like to go over that with you now. So number 1, if you like to 3D print, you need to make a model. So guys, go ahead and add steps here to your engineering notebook and go ahead and write number 1 here, and go ahead and write this one down. So you're going to need to make a 3D model, or you need to download a 3D model. So guys, for those of you that use Autodesk or Tinkercad, you can make your 3D model there. For those of you who've earned enough tickets to get 3D prints, you may have gone to Thingiverse already. If you go to Thingiverse, you can download your 3D models there. Step 2, you need to make what's called an STL file. And guys, that's as simple as you're just converting the file over. It takes maybe 30 seconds, and I will show you that in an example in the next lesson. Number 3, you're going to need to slice your file and make G-code. So slicing your file, making G-code is like setting up the instructions here. And I talked about it earlier that on this slide, I showed you guys the 2 different views with the different supports. That was called FlashForge, and essentially I was making the instructions on how to 3D print and where to 3D print. That was step 3 there. Step 4, you're gonna 3D print your part. And step 5, if you have any support material, you're gonna clean the part, which is just code for you're going to remove the support. So like this guy here, he has some pliers, you could just break them off. And again guys, they're purposely built weak so that they're very easy to snap off, right? So these would be your general 5 steps if you'd like to 3D print. If you need to pause the video now so you can catch up on the text, please pause now. Alright guys, have a great day.